What if Spider-Man were in Demon Slayer? What would the friendly neighborhood hero do in the brutal world of Oni hunters? Could Peter Parker manage to save Rengoku or develop a cure for Nezuko even before the final events? And most importantly, how would a hero who refuses to kill deal with creatures that can only be neutralized by decapitation? Before we learn if the spider sense surpasses the transparent world, I need you to shoot that web at the subscribe button and activate the bell so you don't miss any trips through the multiverse. Our story starts amid a fierce Sinister Six battle in New York. The villain Mancha, when his portals are overloaded by an experimental generator, creates an unstable rift. Peter, trying to save civilians, is sucked into the vortex. He doesn't land in Queens, but falls into the middle of a dark, dense forest full of webs. Yes, fate, with its ironic sense of humor, throws Spider-Man directly onto Mount Natagumo. Peter lands with his agility, but soon realizes that something is wrong. The smell of blood is strong. He spots a boy with Hanafuda earrings being thrown around by threads much sharper than his own. It was Tanjiro Kamado fighting against Rui, the Lower Moon 5. Seeing Rui about to slice Tanjiro, Peter's instincts kick in. The spider sense is not just a warning. In this universe, it works as if it were a premonition of a greater danger. While the hunters need extreme concentration to see the flow of blood and muscles, Peter anticipates the attack and fires a precise web shot before it begins. He traps Rui's threads on the trees, saving Tanjiro just in time as an irritated Rui tries to cut Peter. But notice the brutal difference in the scale of physical power. Here, Spider-Man is able to hold train cars and lift entire buildings, feats that surpass the brute physical strength of most demons except maybe the Upper Moons, who are physically stronger. When Rui tries to pull his threads, Peter simply doesn't move, planted on the ground like a rock. With a violent tug, it's Rui who flies toward Peter. Receiving a double kick to the chest that breaks all the demon's ribs and sends him flying meters away, Tanjiro is stunned. He smells Peter. He's not a demon, not a slayer, but someone with the scent of a human spider. But the problem arises now. Peter traps Rui in a nearly indestructible web cocoon. He turns to Tanjiro and says, "Hey kid, call the police. This pale brat needs a cell." Tanjiro, confused, explains he must cut off the Oni's head, because if he doesn't, Rui's bloodlust will never end and he will break free to claim more victims. But Peter refuses, and this moral hesitation almost costs them dearly. Rui frees himself by using his Kiki Jutsu to cut his own flesh and escape from the webs. Gyu Tomioka arrives right then. Unlike in the original timeline, he sees a man in a red bodysuit arguing with a demon and instantly decapitates Rui. Peter is horrified, believing Gyu just killed a child. The ideological conflict is immediate as Gyu turns to attack Peter, who shoots webs from his hands and moves. Like a spider, it's expected that the hunter would mistake him for a spider demon. The battle is interrupted by Tanjiro, who warns Gyu about the rescue carried out by Spider-Man. Peter, confused, wants information, so he is taken to the Demon Hunter's Corps, where the situation becomes tense. The Hashiras don't know what to do with him. Shinobu Kochi, however, is fascinated not by Spider-Man's powers, but by Peter's mind. When talking to him, she realizes that Peter's knowledge of chemistry and biology is centuries ahead of the Taisho era. When Peter discovers that the Onis were humans infected by the blood of Muzan, the king of the Onis, his goal changes. He's not going to hunt Onis, he's going to cure them. So, will Peter be able to accomplish such a feat? Look, Peter makes a deal with Bushiki. He will help contain the threats without killing, while he himself uses the resources of the Butterfly Mansion to study the blood of the Onis. Peter Parker's genius with an intelligence quotient over 250 unites. With Shinobu's knowledge of poisons and, later, Tamayo's biology, a scientific dream team is formed that accelerates the discovery of a cure by years. This team exists because Tanjiro warned about an Oni researching her blood for centuries. This is why Kaguya recruits Tamayo well before the Infinity Castle and Hashira training, specifically for her advanced research. With Shinobu's help, Peter develops a special web fluid, a mixture of synthetic polymers with a high concentration of wisteria. Now, his webs don't just trap. They burn and paralyze the demons on contact, acting like a non-lethal but incapacitating acid. Something similar was shown by Shinobu in the original storyline, during the fight against Duma, Upper Moon 2, where she used a poison that slowed the Upper Moon's movements. Soon we reach the Mugen train arc, where Rengoku, Tanjiro, Zenitsu, Inosuke, and now Spider-Man board the train. When Enmu puts everyone to sleep, something interesting happens. Peter's spider sense is so in sync with danger that it wakes up Peter's body before his mind. It's an automatic reflex. Peter wakes up from the dream in a violent impulse, snatching the ticket from the conductor's hand before the spell is fully completed. In it, when the hunters go to face Enmu, when Tanjiro fights with Inosuke on the roof of the train, Peter does what he does best: damage control, helping Rengoku save the passengers on the train. And of course, when the train derails, Peter uses all his webs to hold the train cars, creating a giant net between the trees, preventing the train from violently overturning. No passengers are seriously injured. A classic superhero movie scene, but in feudal Japan. Then the house appears. Upper Moon 3 senses Rengoku's presence, but his eyes soon fix on Peter. The house doesn't sense a murderous intent in the hero, unlike Rengoku, who is ready to fight with all his strength to put an end to the house. In this fight, the power scale is tested. The house is a master of martial arts, but Spider-Man has the way of the spider, a fighting style based on improvisation, superhuman agility, and use of the environment. The house tries to use the destructive style, but the spider sense allows Peter to dodge just millimeters before impact. It's the first time the house has fought someone who predicted its moves with 100% accuracy without even needing to see. The house. It excitedly shouts, "You're strong! Become a Spider-Man!" Peter answers he'd rather struggle and pay rent late than become an Oni, shooting wisteria webs into the house's eyes. The wisteria poison in the webs irritates the house's skin, preventing the eyes from regenerating instantly. Rengoku takes advantage of the opening to use the ninth form, but the house is adaptable thanks to its compass. He realizes that Peter doesn't counterattack to kill. Soon the house targets Rengoku, landing the fatal blow that pierces Kyojuro's chest. Peter throws himself in front, but keep in mind he's already survived trains and fights with Rhino and Green Goblin. His durability is incredible. The house's fist breaks Peter's ribs and punctures his lung, but it doesn't go through like it did with human flesh. Like Rengoku, Peter holds the house's arm in his chest, spitting blood from his mask. With the house trapped, Rengoku can decapitate him, but, as we know, Oni can survive even without a head, tearing off his arms in panic and fleeing into the forest, running like a coward. Rengoku survives, but Peter is seriously injured. However, his healing factor, although not as fast as Oni's or Wolverine's, is much better than that of a normal human, allowing him to stabilize with breathing and total concentration that Tanjiro taught on the train. Rengoku survives, and the organization gains a new respect for the red and blue demon. Rengoku's survival changes everything. He trains Tanjiro directly since young Kamado wants to become stronger. But the biggest change happens behind the scenes. Peter, now recovered, realizes that brute strength won't defeat Muzan. He needs the cure. Peter gives Tamayo a sample of his own radioactive blood. Tamayo discovers that the radiation in Peter's blood can be used to destroy Muzan's cells at a molecular level, preventing regeneration without killing the host, Muzan. And instantly, this would be the key to the reversal in the entertainment district. Peter's presence trivializes the search as he launches spider trackers all over the city. Within minutes, he finds Daki, and after Tengen beheads the Oni, her brother appears, which would anger Peter. The fight against Gyutaro would be deadly because of the poison, but Peter designed a new suit using the fibers from the hunters' uniforms, making it resistant to light cuts from Gyutaro. Peter uses his superior speed to immobilize the blood sickles with his webs. He doesn't cut off the head, but he immobilizes Gyutaro. Tengen and Uzui have enough time to decapitate. Oni Uzui keeps his hand and doesn't retire. The Hashira's golden age stays intact. Although Peter wants to save the Oni siblings, he still doesn't have the cure. Tamai and Shinobu are playing an important role in analyzing the best possibilities to create such a cure against the Onis. Notice how Muzan, frustrated by failures and curious about Spider-Man, decides to act. He finds the Swordsmith village's location, not by accident, but because he wants Peter Parker's head. He sees in Peter a genetic anomaly that could be the key to conquering the sun. The Swordsmith village invasion is brutal. Gyoko and Rantango attack, but Peter is there working on a device to disperse her cure on a large scale, while Tamai and Shinobu are creating it. Unfortunately, Tanjiro Nezuko would not be in the village, precisely because Tanjiro did not damage his sword in the fight against Gyotaro. So he did not need a new sword. Muichiro takes care of Rantango's clones, and when Zohakuten finally appears and Peter arrives, he swings between the dragons as if he were in the skyscrapers of Manhattan. His physical strength allows him to rip off the dragons' heads with his own hands. When Mitsuri arrives at the battle, she's impressed, realizing Peter is stronger and more flexible than her. While Spider-Man distracts Zohakuten, Mitsuri destroys the original Rantango clone, and Peter helps protect the village with Muichiro and Mitsuri. They then face Gyoko. Exterminating the Oni is easier, but the real threat comes when Muzan sends Kokushibo to ensure the job is finished. Muzan wants to turn Spider-Man into his Oni. He wants to capture him and use his cells in an attempt to survive under the sun. The fight against Upper Moon 1 is the Hunter's toughest challenge. Without the mark awakened by Tanjiro, the Hashiras will have great difficulties in this fight, including Spider-Man. The moon breathing creates chaotic shockwaves. Peter's spider sense screams so much that it gives him a headache. Peter can't dodge everything. He gets sliced multiple times and his suit is destroyed. But Peter has something Kokushibo doesn't understand: stubbornness. Peter is clever and sharp. He uses the environment to his advantage. He brings down the main tower of the village on Kokushibo, not to kill him, but to buy some time. He realizes he can't win with the sword, even with two Hashiras helping him. He needs to inject the cure. Peter created modified web shooters that fire hypodermic darts. With Tamayo's cure, which was still experimental, it was all or nothing. He had to take the risk, and he only needed one clean shot. Mutaroto Kido, covered in blood, and Mitsuri Kanoji, exhausted, try to create an opening. Kokushibo realizes their intention and prepares a circular slash to decapitate everyone at once. But Peter, with his spider sense, saves the Hashiras and even manages to find the perfect moment to fire the dart, which takes effect immediately. In Kokushibo, Tamayo's experimental cure, mixed with Peter's bioengineering, doesn't just attack the cells, it overloads the nervous system. Kokushibo drops his sword for the first time in centuries. Muzan's voice in his head is silenced. Mishikatsu Tsugikuni falls to his knees, gasping, looking at his own hands, which slowly lose their claws. He doesn't die, but he's neutralized, falling unconscious as his body tries to fight against centuries of mutation. The silence in the Swordsmith village is deafening. The Hashiras look at Peter not as a warrior anymore, but as a symbol of hope. He didn't need to decapitate. He defeated the strongest creature second only to Muzan, with the awareness and hope that the cure would work. The return to the core is marked by a significant change. Mishikatsu is taken to the Butterfly Mansion Tamayo. When analyzing the blood of the former Upper Moon 1 who underwent Peter's cure, they find the missing link. The definitive cure is not just about destroying the cells, but about rewriting the original human DNA. To reject Muzan's influence with this discovery, the cure for Nezuko is completed and administered immediately. Nezuko wakes up human, with memories and speech. Just days before the final battle, Muzan lost his chance to conquer the sun. Ani's fear turns into pure hatred. He no longer wants to absorb anyone. He wants total annihilation. He knows that the source of this threat is Spider-Man. The final battle is about to happen. Muzan, desperate and furious, leads the remaining Onis in a direct attack on the Weishiki mansion at nightfall. But the corporation is ready. Peter equipped all the hunters not only with swords, but also with small glycemia web bombs. When Muzan breaks through the gates, he is met not with fear, but with a containment strategy. Yome, Sanemi, Giyu, and the other Hashiras attack in sync. But this time, they don't fight to kill, they fight to corner Muzan. Cunningly, he leads them to his fortress, the Infinity Castle, separating them, but without many of his two upper ranks, the battle in the castle is easier. Rengoku, Giyu, and Tanjiro defeat Akaza, Hakuji, By injecting the cure with Tanjiro's help after he awakened the transparent world in Demon Slayer Mark, Shinobu's fight with Duma is intense and fast, with Gyomei and Tengen joining in. Muichiro, Mitsuri, and Obanai defeat Nakime as battles rage in the Infinity Castle. In the midst of all this, Peter is fighting Muzan directly, where the King of the Demons uses his blade whips at hypersonic speed, destroying everything around. Peter, despite his superhuman speed, wouldn't be able to keep up with Muzan if he wasn't wearing his suit. An improvised iron spider, made with metal alloys from Nichiren swords and comprehension technology. The mechanical legs on Peter's back allow him to have the mobility to keep up with Muzan's whips as the castle collapses. All of them together against Muzan. Equipped with wisteria bombs, it allows Spider-Man to get close enough to inject the cure into the King of Demons, so that Muzan suffers, trapped by his own life, sentenced to pay for all his crimes. However, the outcome is worse than we expected. The cure's radiation, combined with Spider-Man's blood in the primordial demon's body, causes him to age 9,000 years and lose his demon biology. Upon reaching the age of the oldest man on Earth, Muzan's body turns to dust and disappears. His death ends the curse. The demons around the world fall. Days later, the organization is dissolved and everyone goes on to live happy lives, thanks to the help of the Avengers. And Doctor Strange, Peter manages to return home swinging back to the skyscrapers of New York. Peter thinks, demons, samurai, and I thought John Jonah Jameson was a nightmare. So, did you like it? This version? Where science and responsibility save the day. I chose another video for you and I know you'll like it. I'll be waiting there, otaku.